Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Risser, the host of Sports Talk with RKJ, and I'm here with Justin D'Onofrio, and today we have our college basketball preview. And it all began last night as we had the top 4 teams in the country: Duke facing Kansas and Michigan State facing Kentucky, and it was a really great. Those were 2 really great games between those 2 teams. Duke, the way I thought both games would go didn't go the way either me or Justin thought it would go, because Duke beat Kansas and Kentucky beat Michigan State. And I mean, Duke, Trey Jones back, showing that leadership, played really well last night. And there was a surprise off the bench. What was that guy's name who played well?
For Duke,
for Kentucky,
Maxey. It's like Tyrell Maxey.
Gotcha. And we'll start talking about those teams first. In Michigan State, with all they got back, they got Cassius Winston back, probably going to be one of the best players in the country. They got a lot of returning guys too. Langford, who was out last night, but they have a ton of guys returning from the team that made it to the Final Four last year that lost to Texas Tech. So do you think Michigan State will live up to the hype this year, that they live up to the high expectations that that have came upon them this year?
I think they definitely can. Joshua Langford's actually out till January with another foot injury. I guess he had surgery. It did not go over well. It didn't go as well as they expected. It sounds like he's out till at least January. It really hurts them, as you could tell last night. Rocket Watts filled in, a freshman, will be phenomenal. She really struggled. But going back to the Michigan State hype, I think they definitely do. That team was really good last year. Tillman's back, Henry's back, Cassius Winston, probably the best player in the country, is back. I feel like they definitely have a shot to run the table, win the national championship. I feel like this is he hasn't won one since 2000. The last time the Big Ten actually won a national championship was in 2000. So I think, there's high expectations for the Michigan State team. I think they live up to it. We'll see. Injuries kind of derailed these guys last year. It just seems like not everybody is healthy at the same time. They did end up beating Duke, getting the Final Four, fell short to Texas Tech, but this team definitely has a real shot to get back to the Final Four this year. I think it's in Atlanta. I would not be surprised to see these guys down there.
We got number 2 Kentucky, who beat Michigan State last night. John Calipari, we always know, has a bunch of freshmen on his team. It's the same this year. Can this Kentucky team that hasn't been to the Final Four since 2015, since that great team they had with Karl Anthony Towns, can this Kentucky team get to the Final Four this year with John Calipari? I
think they have a shot, and it's, they looked good last night. That Maxey kid came off the bench, probably the final time he's ever going to come off the bench. Higgins looked a little bit, improved. Still not a great shooter. I know that's something he wanted to work on. Didn't shoot great. Made quickly. He looked like he made a little bit of progress. He scored 10 points last night. And again, I think this Kentucky team, Calipari's only won one national title with all these. I don't know if you saw that stat. Since he's gotten there, he's had the top recruit has every year. It's either been 1, 2, and this is the first time he's ever been number 3. So technically, it's been his worst, recruiting class. It's number 3 in the country. So, but I feel like this team every year, Tennessee, they always supposed to get there, and they always fall short to somebody. It's so early. I would say, I'm still a little bit worried about this team, like I usually am with Kentucky, because I don't know if at the end of last year when they got knocked out, there was people not very happy with John Calipari, because it's been 4 years since they got back to Final Four. It's been 7 years since when he had Anthony Davis there, and that team was really, really good. And they won, so it's been 2012 that he has not been able to get a national championship. So I think there's some I know he got the lifetime contract, but the fans still were not very happy with that Elite 8 finish. There's some, again, it's Kentucky. They got the high expectations. That's a nice big first win for them last night, knocking off number 1 Michigan State, and they'll probably be number 1 in the AP polls on, I think, Monday or the next Monday. Probably next Monday, they'll be number 1 in the country.
We'll go to the number 3 team in the country. We'll talk about Kansas, who's got a couple pretty good players returning back. They got Dotson and the guy Azubuike returning back. Do you think that Kansas, who didn't win the Pac-12 regular season last year, didn't win the tournament either last year, if I remember correctly, right? Yeah. Will they get back to the top of the Pac-12 this year? I mean, the top of the Big 12 this year.
I think they will. Baylor's a very good team to watch out for. They got a lot of guys coming back. They looked very sloppy, and I wonder too with the NCAA what happened with them with all the talks. We'll see when the NCAA lays down their sanctions, if they do. they weren't great last night. They had 28 turnovers, the most since 1988 for these guys. So they were very sloppy with the ball, and give a lot of credit to Duke because their defense game plan was great. I love the way they were trapping guys that press. They were making Kansas forwards try to bring up the ball, and it did not work very well. I liked what they did. And as Azubuike, if he wants to live up to being one of the top centers in the country, he's got to show up. He had 8 points, 8 rebounds. He wasn't great. 30 minutes. He got in foul trouble. They really need, if they, him and Dotson really can take this team as far as they want to go. I think those are the two big guys. McCormick had 13 rebounds, did not shoot very well. He was a top freshman coming in. I think they will win the Big 12 and they'll restart their streak. I think got snapped at 13 straight years. They won the Big 12 regular season title. That got snapped. I think they'll be able to get back to number one in the Big 12 regular season title. But it's going to be tough with Baylor. Baylor's a very good team this year, Cortex Tech. I think they'll be able to do it, but it's going to be tough. They got to play better than they did last year.
We'll talk about the 4 team in the country who lost Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish, but they came up with a win last night. Coach K, best coach in the country, proved that I know you disagree, but proved that last night, and they beat Kansas last night. Can this Duke team have the same success with this freshman class? Yeah,
and didn't you see? Because I think they're missing that freshman that could take over a game. They don't have that Zion Williamson guy this year. They don't have RJ Barrett. They're missing that piece of the puzzle. Because I think Trey Jones can be that guy. He had 15 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists last night. But he shot 5 for 14 from the field. He was 5-6 on the free throw line. He only shot 26% last year from the three-point line. He's not a great shooter. That's his problem. I know he came back to win a national championship. He came back to, be the leader of this team. He may have to be that guy, and he's not a great shooter. That's why I worry. Matthew Hurt was decent. Vernon Carey was good. Cassius Stanley played decent. She played pretty well. Then the other thing is, too, I worry about Duke's depth. They did play 9 guys. They all played above 10 minutes, so I think they have a little bit more depth than they usually do down there. But Krzyzewski, too, hasn't been in a Final Four since 2015, the year they won it, with Julia Okafor and those guys. So
Elite 8 twice, very close the last 2 years.
Elite 8 twice, but they live up to where they should be in the Final Four and national championship every single year. They haven't, it's been 4 years since they have, and he's had, I think, 30 All-Americans, all time, and he's got a couple of rings for it, but, his team's always stacked. I like the way they played defense last night, the traps and all that. I think that's going to be a huge success for them. But I remember watching them playing Northwestern, Missouri State in an exhibition game. They could not shoot a 3-ball. I think they were 2 for 13 from shooting on 3-pointers against that zone. They did not shoot the ball well against the zone. They didn't play well against it. So I worry about, if teams play a zone, I'd be a little bit worried. They only won that game by 6 points. So I do worry. I think that aspect is because it's not a great shooting team again. We said they were decent last year, but they had the guys inside where they could just pretty much do anything they wanted to in the paint. They don't, I don't know if they really have that guy this year. They can take over. That's what I worry about.
All right, we talked about Duke. We'll talk about the rest of the ACC, and we'll talk about the defending national champions, Virginia. And this could be a very down year for them because they lost DeAndre Hunter. They lost a lot of players from that national championship team. What do you see from the Cavaliers from the defending champs this year?
They got Khalil Clark back, who's got to become a better shooter. They got Mamadou Diaka back. Those are the only 2 guys back on the starting lineup. I like Braxton Key, the Alabama transfer, came off the bench last year, added about 10 points a game. I heard he got better this offseason, worked on his shot, got stronger. I'm expecting him to have a great year, probably going to play a little bit of 2-3. I'm interested to see them 2 tonight play Syracuse at the Dome against that zone, how they shoot against
a lot of ACC games,
they're
playing
doing
conference
that,
games.
Yeah, they're doing it because of the new 20-game schedule. I don't know why they don't do what the Big Ten does and start that in December, not now. It seems a little weird. I'm not a huge fan of it. But a guy that Virginia recruited, their top recruit, they had the number 23 overall class, I think it was, Casey Morsel from D.C., the Gatorade Player of the Year in D.C., very good shooter. Then they need a kind of spot up 3. And Tony Bennett calls this kid a very mature kid for his age, and he's a good finisher around the rim as well. So that's what Virginia kind of needs this year. They need another scorer. I think Virginia's going to probably finish third in the ACC. But again, defense is going to be great again. I think as long as they can score about 65 to 70 points a game, they'll be able to win most nights anyways with that defense.
We'll talk about North Carolina, who did lose Luke May and Colby White, but they got a really good freshman in Cole Anthony. How good can Cole Anthony? Can Cole Anthony be the best freshman in the country this year?
Yeah, I think he really can. He's not he's not flashy like we saw last year with Colby White that could do it all. But this kid just great ball handler, great court vision, and in all the high school All-American games, he won the MVP honors at the Nike Hoop Summit, the McDonald's All-American game, and the Jordan Brand game. So this kid playing against all these freshmen that are up here, he won all these MVP honors. He's gonna live up probably, of course, his father's Greg Anthony, Hall of Famer. Heck of a career. So he's got already a lot of pressure on him for how good he's going to be or how good he's got to be. I think he'd be able to live that hype, and I think he'd definitely be the top pick in this year's NBA draft. I like this team. They also got Justin Pierce, a grad transfer from William & Mary, 15-point scorer last year, 9 rebounds. William & Mary was a decent team last year. They had a shot to get the tournament. They fell short in their conference tournament. But Grayson Brooks also back this year as a starter. Improved an offensive game, but he improved a little bit offensively. They're going to need him to kind of be that Luke May type guy this year. I think North Carolina is probably going to finish 4th in ACC. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish 3rd. I think them and Virginia could be a toss-up for 3rd or 4th.
So we got Louisville, who returns Jordan Nora. How good are they going to be? They're ranked number 5 in the AP preseason poll. How will they live up to that hype?
I do. I really love Chris Mack as a coach. Last year was, they were in the NIT last year, but I think I didn't even think they would maybe even get in the NIT last year. I think it would be a really rough year for him. Jordan Nora, one of the best players in the country. He had a double-double again last night. I think it was like his 20th career already in Louisville. I really love the way the kid plays. Hard, great rebounder. I think Louisville is one of my favorites right now to win the whole thing. I really do. Turnovers, he committed a bunch. I think he had 80 turnovers last year to 45 assists, and that's something he really worked on, being a better passer this year, better ball handler to bring it up. Last time he only had 2 turnovers, not bad, 2 assists. They played well against a Miami team that's really banged up. They were up 19 at the half. I think their biggest lead was 27 at one point, and they ended up winning by 13. Also, I like from that team, they also got Stephen Enoch back at the center. He's on.
You like Stephen Enoch.
Yeah, I think UConn's really
the one good recruit by Kevin Ollie.
Yeah, he was part of that class that finished 4th overall that year. He had 11 points, 12 rebounds, I think it was last night. He's on the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar top centers, watch list this year. So, guy played really well. Dwayne Sutton back, Malik Williams back, and then they also got a transfer from St. Joe's, Lamar Kimbrell as point guard, who came off the bench last night. But grad transfer, he averaged 15 points a game last year at St. Joe's. I think he could be a solid kind of guy off the bench for him. I really love this Louisville team. I like Chris Mack a lot as a coach. Did a great job at Xavier, now at Louisville. I think they win the ACC this year.
So obviously we talked about Duke, North Carolina, Louisville, and Virginia, but in terms of tournament teams, how many teams do you think the ACC will get in the tournament, and who will those other teams be? I
think they're going to get 8. I think that Louisville, Virginia, Duke, USC, NC State, I think, is a fringe now. I don't know if you remember last year they got snubbed, but I know you know this, Steve. They were 353 out of 353 teams in Division I of their non-conference schedule. That is why they were left out. They were 2-9, I think, against Quadrant 1 teams last year. So they were not. That's why they left out. I think they lost a bad game last night to Georgia Tech at home. So I did not like the way they played last night. Notre Dame's got all 5 guys back, and Mike Gray's a great coach. I do not see Notre Dame being left out this year. So there's 6. Florida State, Leonard Hamilton's got a couple guys back. I feel like they'll be in. And then my last team, I think Syracuse gets in. Elijah Hughes back, returning. And then they got this freshman, Josh Girard III from Glen Falls, New York. The hometown sounds familiar. It's from where Jimmer's from. He scored 4,000 points, beat Jimmer's all-time scoring record there. There's already comparisons to him to Jimmer. Jimmer trains him when he's around, I guess, because I know Jimmer's out and playing in Greece. So this kid's a flat out scorer, and that's something that Syracuse needs. Bayon's supposed to play. I heard supposedly said he's going to play a little bit more man to man this year.
That's not happening.
I took that with a grain of salt. We'll see. I'm very interested to see them play Virginia tonight. See how they play. But I think Syracuse can get in. I think they'll be like a last four in, or last four in without a bye maybe. So I think they could definitely sneak in.
Out of those 4 teams, do you think any is a sleeper to make a big run in the tournament?
I think if any, I'd probably take Syracuse because of that zone, the way they play zone.
Yeah, and you look at the runs they've made in the tournament. That run in 2013, that run in 2016. Jim Boeheim has been known to not have great teams that make runs in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, because that zone is so good, and if you don't see that zone a lot, you really struggle against it. So I think if any, Syracuse, and then my number 2 would be Notre Dame. They got all 5 starters back. TJ Gibson, and then Matt Mooney as well. I think that team Notre Dame could be a sleeper as well. I like Mike Brett as a coach.
We'll shift over to the Big East and we'll talk about Villanova at number 10. Will they be improved from last year as they were crushed by Purdue in the second round of the NCAA tournament? Yeah,
they got a couple guys back. They did lose Phil Booth. Colin Gillespie is back. Decent score. I guess he did get really improved his shot this offseason, because that was the worry with him last year. I was very intrigued last night by a new freshman that they have, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who had 24 points, 13 rebounds, a true freshman. I really liked how he played. I think he's going to be a huge, fan favorite for Nova. They did lose 48% of their scoring though, so I think that could really hurt early on. But
they do have one of the best coaches in the country.
Oh, they do with Jay Wright. They finally, a couple years ago when they won the national championship, he got over that hump, because they were always a team. It felt like the first, second round, they always kind of got eliminated. They'd always choke a game away. He did have the number 5 recruiting class, and then including in that class is Archie Nacchio. You remember his brother Ryan? He's now a freshman, so I think Villanova have a good class. I think may take some time early to get that to gel, because you lost half your scoring, but I think Villanova's going to be just fine in the Big East.
We look at Seton Hall, who's number 12 in the country, has Miles Powell returning. Can Seton Hall live up to the hype?
This is their year if they want to make a run, if they really want to put themselves, in the basketball world as like a top contender. This is the year. Miles Powell, one of the best players in the country, 23 points a game last year, hit 109 three-pointers, which was 24th in the country. Quincy McKnight is back as well, the Sacred Heart transfer. Double, 10 points, about 8 assists, didn't average double, but played really well last year. And he's also a lockdown defender. I remember when they played Marquette last year in March. He guarded Marcus Howard, of course, one of the best scorers in college basketball right now. And he held Howard to 2 for 11 shooting. So he very, very good defensively. Also, Miles Kale's back as well. He's another top scorer for him. I think Seton Hall does get the Big East this year.
We look at Marquette with Marcus Howard returning. Is Marquette, you saw last year they got blown out in the first round of the tournament to John Morant. Is Marquette a tournament team this year?
I got them. I think this is a tough call, because I have them finishing probably 5th or 6th in the Big East. I think that may get them in. The thing is, the Hauser brothers both transferred out. One went to Michigan State, one went to Virginia. They're both sitting out this year, so you will not see them. Marcus Howard put up 38 of their points last night. That's the problem. It's only Marcus Howard, I think, this year, and it's going to be a one-man crew. It's going to have to be. And it may be fine for non-conference play, but I think when you get the Big East play, I think you got enough teams that could probably do enough to slow him down and make somebody else beat them. And I don't know if they have that guy right now. They only have, I think he's the only returning starter for him. So I worry about Marquette. I think they're a fringe team, but if Marcus Howard's going to have to lead them as far as he can go.
Xavier, a team that's always pretty good in the Big East, number 19 in the country. What are your expectations of them this year?
They got 4 starters back from an NIT team. So and all of them come back, and they all averaged double digits in scoring last year. So they got a lot of guys back. The local kid, Tyreek Jones, 19 points last night, 11 rebounds from Bloomfield. He played pretty well. Nigel Marshall, first team All Big East at the guard position, forward. And Xavier, with those two guys, both at being forwards, they got one of the best front courts in the Big East, probably in the country with those two guys. I think Xavier probably finishes third in the Big East this year. Nice bounce back year from the NIT appearance last year. They sound like they're ready to go. They had a big one, or they beat Jacksonville last night by 19. They look pretty good. I think Xavier's got a chance to get a Big East title this year.
Outside of the 4 teams we talked about, how many teams you expect in the tournament from the Big East? I
think for definite, Seton Hall, Nova, Xavier, and Providence, they sump their. Yeah, that's 4. Yeah, that's 4. Alpha Diallo's back. One of the only players in the country that led the team in scoring, points, rebounds, assists, steals, and steals. And steals. Really good player. Only thing I hear the scouts say about him is if he can get a consistent jump shot, he's going to be a first round pick in the NBA draft. I really like him in the Providence team. I think they'd be really good. They put up 106 points last night up on Sacred Heart. And then Marquette, I think, is a fringe team. I worry about them. I want to see if they have a second scorer. So right now, I'd probably put them first 4 out. My surprise team, I think, is Georgetown with the duo back, that sophomore duo, Matt McClung and James Juno. Those 2 guys, I think, are going to be very good. I think Pat Ewing's at his best team that he's had at Georgetown first couple years. I think Georgetown has a really good shot to get in the tournament this year. First time since 2015. I think Georgetown gets back there. So I think there's definitely 4. Georgetown and Marquette are my 2 kind of bubble teams. I think one of them will get in on the bubble. The other one, I think, is probably in the NIT.
Is there any team from the Big East, talking about all the teams, that could make a big run in the tournament?
Besides from the Seton Hall Nova, I think Providence does. They got a bunch of seniors. They got 4 guys, Diallo back, and then I like the freshman or the grad transfer Luwan Pickens from UMass, the guy who played him 3 times and put up 20, 30, and 26 on Providence when he played at UMass. I really like him. I think he kind of went under the radar too in recruiting because he's a guy 5'10". Yeah, 5'10". So I think, I really like Providence with the senior leadership. That's something I love in quality of teams that have the senior upperclassmen.
Like a Michigan State, a team like a Michigan State.
Yep, I love teams like that, and like Virginia last year. So I think Providence could make a run this year in the Big Dance.
We'll go to the Big Ten, and we already talked about Michigan State. Maryland, who's ranked number 7, are they a team that can challenge Michigan State in the Big Ten this year?
They definitely can. They put up 97 points last night. The thing is, though, they shot 5 for 27 from 3-pointers. So of course, it's opening night. Who knows? I'm not worried too much. I think they'll be fine. They still won 95 to 71 against Holy Cross. Anthony Cowan's back. That's the only. They have 4 guys back. Bruno Fernando, only guy did not return. Anthony Cowan's back. Wiggins is back. Isla's back. Smith's back. I really like the Maryland team. I think they definitely have a shot to win the Big Ten regular season. But Anthony Cowan started his 100th career game at Maryland as well last night. I think Maryland's going to be fine. I really like them. I think they definitely have a shot to win the Big Ten. I think, especially the way they lost in the NCAA tournament last year to LSU, that was a great game. I think that they got a chip on their shoulder this year. I like Maryland.
What about Ohio State and Purdue, both top 25 teams? Do they have a shot to compete with Michigan State?
They do, and for Ohio State, I'll start with them. The Wiesen brothers are back, and I think those are the 2 guys. And I think as far as they can go, the 2 brothers will take Ohio State as far as they can go. Caleb, led the team in scoring and rebounding last year. I really like him and a shot blocker. And without him last year, because he got suspended, they lost to 35 at Purdue, 18 at last place Northwestern, and then they lost at OT at home against Wisconsin. So when he's not on the floor for them, they really do struggle. I'm excited to see them play Cincinnati tonight at home. It's going to be a tough home opener for them, playing a scrappy Cincinnati team. I think Ohio State, definitely finish in the top 3, 4, or 5. I don't know if they're better. I don't think they're better than Michigan State or Maryland. They have a shot, But I think his Holman's got a good team in Ohio State this year, and they look good coming off that second round appearance. And then for Purdue, losing Carson Edwards is such a tough loss for him. It's hard to replace a kid like that. They do have 2 guys back from that team. Matt Harms is back. Big, 9-point scorer last year. He only, for a guy 7'1", they really need him to go crash the board some more. He only averaged 5 a game. He's 7'1". They need him to do some of more of that this year. I'm excited to see these freshmen this year. Brandon Newman, they said he should, he's elite scorer in high school. Of course, he's not going to come in and play like Carson Edwards and shoot lights out, but he's that guy that's supposed to kind of fill that role. Very good shooter. Excited to see, but it's tough to kind of put a true freshman in that kind of role, I feel like. But Purdue, I think they'll be all right. They start tonight against Green Bay, and then they have Saturday night. They host Texas, so good test coming up Saturday night for Purdue.
How many tournament teams you expect in the Big Ten this year?
I have 8, right? Michigan State, Maryland, Ohio State, Purdue, Michigan, Iowa, Wisconsin. And then my sleeper kind of fringe team is Illinois. They were not great. They took Nichols to overtime last night. They're kind of my sleeper. I feel like they can make some noise in the Big Ten, maybe get in the dance under Brad Underwood. But we'll see. They didn't look great last night, so I kind of worry about that pick early. And then Michigan, DeJuan Howard last night, his home opener, they were up 70-46, I think, with 10 minutes left. They ended up only winning 79-71. So struggled to close the door against an Appalachian State team that's not very good out of the Sun Belt. I think they're going to be I worry because if they're not able to close the game out like that. Iowa, they got 2 guys back. If you remember Jordan Boheim, one of the clutchest shooters in college basketball last year. He had hip surgery and was not supposed to play. They're going to redshirt him, but sounds like he's ready to go. He'll come off the bench tonight or Thursday they start. He'll come off the bench. So I think Iowa's going to be fine. They were picked 6th because I think people worried about Boheim, but they could definitely shoot up in the Big Ten. And then Wisconsin, they lost a tough one to St. Mary's last night. Again, they struggle to score. Brad Davis is back, and Ravards are back, but that's about. They're hoping that Nate kind of turns in that Frank Kaminsky type player. But tough loss last night for the Badgers. I think they can. They'll be back. I worry about them just like football. They're not very great at offense. Offense is a problem for them, but they play really good defense.
We'll go to the Big 12, and it's kind of probably a weak year for the Big 12. Kansas obviously expected to win it, but we'll go to the team that made it to the national championship game last year and lost, Texas Tech. What do you expect out of them this year, losing Jordan Culver? What do you expect out of Texas Tech this year? Do you think they can make a run back to the Final Four?
Yeah, I think I love Chris Beard. I think he's done a heck of a job with Texas Tech, and this was pretty much like the last place team it seemed like since Knight left. Even Knight he had 1 or 2 good years with these guys, and that was really about it. And I think they definitely can make a run at it. David Moretti's back, the kid from Italy. TJ Holyfield, I like, a kid grad transfer from Stephen F. Austin, played well last night, 15.6 rebounds from him. Jermani C. Ramsey, I think it's pronounced. He's a true freshman. He scored 19 last night. Very good shooter. Excited to see what he does. I think Texas Tech will finish 3rd in this conference. And I think, they definitely have a shot to get back to Sweet 16, Elite 8. I would love to pull the trigger on them to get the Final Four, but right now I don't know if they have enough talent to do that. But again, we'll see. I really like Chris Beard in March.
How many teams does the Big 12 get into the NCAA tournament?
Kansas, of course. Baylor, they had 3 guys returning, including Tristan Clark, who went down last year, season-ending injury. He shot, when he was healthy, 72% from the field. Texas Tech's 3, Iowa State 4, 5. I want to say Texas. This is a huge year for Shaka. I worry about them a little bit. Oak State's got all 5 returning starters with the number 22 recruiting class in the country. I think Oklahoma State's my sleeper in the Big 12. I think they'll be really good this year. And then Kansas State, I think, is a fringe team. But again, in the Big 12, I think all 9-10 teams have a shot to be on the bubble. No, not in the bubble, but all kind of have a shot. Late February, mid-February, they kind of have a shot to get into the field of 64. The conference very deep. The last 5 years, Their conference ranking's been 1 all 5 years. So good basketball conference. And I think the one team that could knock off Kansas in this conference this year is Baylor, with Mario Kegler as back as well. And Scott Drew's done a great job. Last year they were picked 9th to finish in the Big 12. They end up finishing 5th, snuck in the tournament, and won it. They beat up Syracuse in the first round. So Baylor, I think, has a real shot to knock off Kansas in the Big 12 this year.
One of the really good conferences in college basketball. It's gotten definitely better over the last couple of years, the SEC. And we know we got Kentucky, who's probably the favorite, but we got another team who's really close. My cousin goes to Florida. Florida getting Kerry Blackshear. He's going to play this year. Do you think Florida can live up to the hype being a top 10 team? Yeah,
right now, if I had to choose anybody, I'd take them to win the national championship right now. If I had to pick anybody, I think they knock off Louisville in the national championship game. That's my prediction right now, but if that's my prediction right now. But I can't wait to see Florida. They come to Stores November 17th.
Well, that's going to be a good one. That's going to be a really good one, yep.
And I'll get to see Florida up live in person. Kerry Blackshear had 20 points last night, 10 rebounds. Looked good in his first time in a Gator uniform. But they also got this kid, a freshman, Trey Mann, Scotty Lewis, Mike White. Got a great recruiting class. I think this is their best team since 2014 when UConn knocked them off twice in the Final Four, and Shabazz huge shot back at Gamble when they had UConn gave them 2 of their 3 losses last year. I think they could be as good as that team. I don't know if they'll be as good as that team.
They don't have as good of a coach. That's the thing.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see kind of how well, because this is his best team he's had at Florida. I'm interested to see how he coaches this team, because this is one of the best teams I think in the country. And then Noah Locke, who hit 81 threes, it broke a program record for a freshman sharpshooter. I think Florida does win the SEC, and right now they are my favorite to win the title.
So we'll look at some other teams in the SEC. We got LSU. They lost Tremont Waters last year. How will they be as good as last year, or do you think they'll tail off a little bit?
No, I think they're going to tail off. Only Smart and Skylar Mays are back. Those are the only 2 guys. They got Trent Waterford, a top recruit in the country. Interested to see what happens with sanctions there as well with Will Wade. I don't know what's going to happen with him. Some of the stations, but they open up Friday night at Bowling Green, and then they go up to see VCU, who's a very good mid-major team. In their next Wednesday, I think it is, they'll play VCU. So tough test for them. I actually have them finishing 8th in the SEC. I really think they're going to take a step back this year. I think they're going to have some trouble. I think they sneak in the tournament, though. I think the SEC could possibly get 7-8 teams in the tournament. I think they'll get in, but they definitely take a step back this year, missing Waters.
We have Auburn, who made the Final Four last year. Is this another team that takes a step back?
I think they do. They got 2 started back. They have Doherty back and Wiley and Austin Wiley, who are the 2 big guys for them. They really had their hands full in Georgia Southern, who's picked 2nd, I think, in the Sun Belt. So a decent team. We'll kind of see how it goes. Doherty put up 20 last night. Then actually Austin Wiley 13.9 rebounds. Decent night for them. They had to pull. They only won by 9, so a little bit concerned. 3-point shooting last night was not great for them either. Only 7 for 22. So they're going to maybe take a step back in that regard. I think they could finish. I think I have them finishing 3rd or 4th. Tennessee is a younger team as well. A lot of new pieces. So I think it could fit anywhere in between there.
So how many teams do you have going to the tournament in the SEC?
I have Florida, Kentucky, Auburn, Tennessee. Watch out for Ole Miss again. I love Kermit Davis. He's got 3 guys back with the number 20 class coming in. Alabama as well. They lost to a Penn team who was picked 3rd in the Ivy. And the Ivy League's going to be good this year at Harvard, Yale, and Penn. They lost to a tough team. My surprise team in this conference is Georgia, and they had the number 2 overall class. Second number 2 overall class with the number 2 overall player in Anthony Edwards. He looked good last night with 25 points. They struggled in Western Carolina early, but I think they were picked 9th, I think, the SEC. But I know Tom Crean isn't the greatest coach, but I think with a number 2 recruiting class in the country, you got to be somewhat decent, and I just don't expect them to finish 9th. I think they could sneak in the tournament. And then 8, I do have LSU. I think they could be a fringe fringe NCAA tournament team. I worry about them. But I think, 8 teams in this conference can definitely get in the tournament.
We'll go to the AAC, and how do you not start with Memphis? They got the top recruit in the country. James Wiseman is his name, right?
Yep, James Wiseman.
James Wiseman. He'll be at the XL Center on February 16th. We know Justin D'Onofrio will probably be there.
Oh yeah.
That's a really big prospect. Penny Hardaway has done a really good job recruiting, and obviously they are the favorite in the AAC. Can they make a run in the tournament?
It's interesting because, again, this is like the first time we're going to see these guys. They're going to be the first time we see Penny Hardaway coaching March in the tournament. So I don't want to, pull my trigger yet on Penny. I want to see how he kind of coaches these guys. But I picked them second to win the American. I think Houston's going to win it. I think
because of Calvin Sampson and the experience.
Yep, and then they got the 5-star recruit, Kansas transfer, who Kansas actually pulled the scholarship on, Quentin Grimes. Is eligible to play this year. I really like Houston because I just worry about, I worry because I know Penny Hardaway's, coach AAU and all that, so he's worked with all these talented kids before and all this. But I worry about him with the team. They're going to be fine. They're going to win a lot of games. Picked 14th in the country this year, or in the preseason poll. They put up 97. James Wiseman lived up to the hype. He had 28 points, 12 rebounds. The rest of they had a couple guys. Precious, I think it's Chuika, something like that is pronounced. For a while, it sounded like he was going to be a UConn recruit. Ended up going to Memphis instead. He looked good. That was, but Memphis. I'm excited when they go to Tennessee. They got a couple of tough ones. They also play Georgia. They go to Oregon next week. They play at Portland. So we're gonna see this team front center a lot early on. And I think they'll finish second. I think Houston's gonna get them. Quentin Grimes, Nate Hinton, who had some bright moments last year. He scored 14 versus LSU, and then had as a guard, he grabbed 11 rebounds against Cincinnati. I think him and Grimes will have a big year, and then Dejan Drew, who only played 18 minutes a game, is going to come out, going to be starting now. I really like him too, the UMass transfer. I think he could have a big year for Houston. I really like Houston to win the American. I really like Calvin's team again. I know they lost that Davis kid from last year, but I think Houston's going to probably win the American. And then Cincinnati, I think they got Cumberland decided to come back, and his cousin now is joining him from Oakland, who is a 25-point scorer. Oakland plays in the Horizon League. He scored 25 points a game in their conference tournament. I think they lost in the finals if he was on the all-conference team. He's a big scorer. Cincinnati, the thing is about them we always see is they can't shoot the ball, and then they can't get out of a first-round game. This year, they could shoot the basketball. They got a new coach in John Brennan, who built a Northern Kentucky team who's only been Division I for 6 or 7 years it's been, and they've already been to 3 NCAA tournaments. So I really like them. I think Cincinnati's gonna finish third, and then Wichita's got a lot of guys back as well. They got a nice class coming in. I think, and they got hot last year. They finished 14-4. They got to the NIT semifinals after. I remember when they came up to play UConn, and they were awful, could not shoot. I was about to say Shaka.
Greg Marshall.
Yeah, Greg Marshall, one of the best coaches in the game. I love Greg Marshall's teams. Wichita State's to be fine. They'll be back in the tournament this year.
And here's the big question. What's UConn going to be like this year in the AAC? They lose Jalen Adams, get Christian Vital, Gilbert back. They have that pretty good recruit inside, too. They got Carlton and Poly back. What are the expectations for UConn in their last year of the AAC? And there should be improvement in Dan Hurley's second year.
Yeah, I think there will be. I worry. I think the thing is, it's going to be guard play. Again, it's going to be Vital and Gilbert's going to run the team. These two guys are going to run the team. Vital, I can't remember. I saw this in the summer, so I can't remember the player's name. But Vital will be the first player since the 1992-93 season to be a 4-year player at UConn and not make one NCAA tournament if they do not get in. I think they get to the NIT this year. I don't know if they'll get in the tournament. I kind of hope they do. But again, I don't think we've ever thought we'd be saying this for UConn fans. Is we kind of just hope to be over 500 at the end of the year.
Because the last 3 years they've been under 500.
Yeah, so I guess a positive, and I'd be shocked if the team finishes under 500. In the last couple of years, it's been the injury bug has really hurt these guys. You hope it stays, especially Gilbert. Gilbert looked good in the exhibition game against St. Michael's. He played pretty well. Vitale, again, is always a streaky scorer. Cook played well. He's as skinny as a rail. He's got to get some muscle on. I like his shot blocking ability. With Hurley's aggressive defense, if guys get beat, I love him in the paint to block shots. But again, I think he's so skinny right now. If he played man-to-man against like a Kerry Blackshear, I just feel like right now he's going to get eaten alive. I like his shot. I think he'd be very good. And then another couple of freshmen they have is Jalen Gaffney. He's been bothered by an ankle injury. He was not 100% last week, did not play well at all. And then Jane Bouknight has been suspended, I think, till after the Charleston Classic. He's a guy, a great spot-up shooter, and he can bring a dunk fest. I really like him as well, but he was suspended incident. Not good, so he's out probably for the first month of the year. And then Sidney Wilson, I hope, developed a jump shot, hopefully. Again, he could be another one. He gained a little bit of weight, but the most impressive guy I saw in the offseason, actually two. Isaiah Wiley, he actually got a jump shot. He looked like he got stronger. Whatever Hurley told that guy in this summer to stay, because I 100% thought he was transferring out of here. It worked, and he looked good. He played a lot of confidence. He was a guy that the last couple of years had no confidence. And then Brendan Adams looked good too. It looked like his shot got better. He looked like he got stronger. I know Hurley likes to do a summer competition with the team, and he was first. He finished first on the team. I think Paulo was second, Vitale was third. So I'm impressed with Adams. I think he's going to have a much better year. I think UConn's an NIT team. But I'm excited to see the test in a couple of weeks when Florida comes to Gamble. I think that's going to be the real measurement of how good this team is. And they may see him in Charleston, too. They play in the tournament, too, but they play on the opposite side, so they may see him the final day. Be cool to see him play in the championship game a week later. But, I think this is a team that will be, NIT. Hopefully they stay healthy. I think they finished fifth in the conference. I had them sixth until South Florida lost Alexei Yeti, a big, huge rebounder. He's out for the season for South Florida. So I think I have them fifth. I know Hurley as well took a picture at the media days in the Philly for the AAC media day, and I know he took a picture of the trophy, and it's all plastered over in the UConn locker room. So Hurley said, take what's ours. And then the last kid to transfer from Howard, RJ Cole, they didn't want to give him a waiver this year because Hurley kind of said about him is we're going to keep the Ferrari in the garage for now. So excited to see him play. Great spot-up shooter as well. So I think hopefully next year's the year they get in the tournament definitely. I think next year they're a top 25 team. This year I think it's just one more year wait, and then we're in the Big East. So I just hope for another development year, get the guys ready, because, I think all UConn fans are excited to go back to the Big East.
They sure are. So how many tournament teams do you expect in the AAC?
I expect Houston, Memphis, Cincinnati, Wichita. South Florida, I had a fringe team until I heard yesterday that one of their top guys is going to be out. So I think they're probably an NIT team. UConn, I think, is NIT. Temple finished 7th in the preseason poll. I know Fran Dumfrey's gone, but they got Pierre Lewis back, and they also got Quinn Rhodes back, two guys that probably will be picked this year. They were picked 7th. I could definitely see this team getting in the tournament. I like them. Aaron McKay's been with Fran Dumfrey for years, so I don't, of course he's not going to be Fran Dumfrey, one of the classiest guys in the country, and Fran. So I think Temple will be okay. I would not be surprised to see Temple get in the dance. They just I know their depth, I think, especially in the front courts, may hurt a little bit, but their guards could definitely lead them there with Rosen and Pierre Lewis. But I think Temple could get in, but I'm going to say probably NIT. So I'm going to go with 4 teams in the American to get in the dance.
We'll go to the Pac-12, and it's kind of a 2-team conference right now with Oregon and Arizona. Do you think those 2 teams can get to a Final Four and compete for a championship?
I have more confidence in Oregon than I do Arizona. They got real they got cold down the stretch. They lost like 7 games in a row. They kind of fell off. Jeter's back. Big physical, big guy. Duke transfer from Vegas. Max Hazard, the UC Irvine transfer. He's going to come in and help out the guard play. They got 2 top 10 guards and Josh Green and Nico Mannarin, who are going to be pretty good for him. I think Arizona, I have them finishing 4th in the Pac-12 right now. I think they're going to have a down I think they'll be good. I think they're going to struggle up. It seems like the last couple of years they haven't been able to get there. I'm going to go probably for Oregon. Nafali, I think that's how you pronounce Dante, was just declared ineligible, top 5-star kid until December. So that's going to hurt down low for the Ducks. They look decent. They have Peyton Pritchard back at the guard. Of course, it seems like he's been there forever. He's going to have a good year. Shannon Lawson, a top 5-star recruit. Brother Diedrich and KJ Lawson, now true freshman. I like him to help out this Ducks team. But I think the Ducks will win it. The team that nobody's really talking about is Colorado. They're a team that bring all 5 starters. McKinley Wright was first team All Pac-12 last year. Tyler Bay's back, one of their top scorers last year. Tested the draft board, decided to come back. They play Arizona State out in China Friday night. They're calling it's a non-conference game out there. They're not counted as their Pac-12 Saints. I really like Colorado. Bay can guard all 5 positions too. He's one of those new guys that just positionless. I think Colorado is going to be. I think they finished 2nd in that conference. I think they're better, a little bit better than Arizona team. Yeah, that Colorado is the kind of team to keep your eyes on. And then the last team I feel like can get probably in the big dance in the Pac-12 is Washington. They only one starter back, but it had a top recruiting class in Isaiah Stewart and Jaden McDaniels. They start out Friday night against Baylor up in Alaska, so I'm excited to see them. They play them and then Tennessee a week later in Toronto. So I'm excited to see Washington. We're going to find out a lot. Mike Hopkins, too. I don't know if you know this. Coach for Jim Boeheim
for years, yeah.
So,
like the 2-3 zone.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a tough 2-3 zone to play against. So, I think that's an advantage for Washington as well with that zone. So I feel like Washington can make a huge progress this year. I think they finished 3rd in the Pac-12.
So how many teams do you expect in the tournament in the Pac-12?
I think for Oregon, Colorado, Washington, Arizona, USC, and then 5 actually. I'll go USC as well. Andy Enfield, huge year for him. One of his assistant coaches, Isaiah Mobley. His brother Evan Mobley's true freshman 5-star recruit will be pretty good. I saw maybe like 10 seconds of their game last night. They looked good. Him and I might even be able to pronounce this guy's name, but I'm gonna botch it. Anyika Akungua, something like that. 20 points, 13 rebounds. He looked good in the few minutes I watched of their game last night. I think USC can get in, so I'm gonna go 5, and then Arizona State has a chance with Bobby Hurley. I think they're going to be an NIT team just because Pac-12, usually they get those teams kind of left out. 5's probably pushing in the Pac-12, but I think USC is going to be good enough to get in. We'll see kind of how it all meshes. I know they had injuries, problems last year. We'll see if they can get back to the dance.
So we'll look at some of the mid-majors, and we look at like Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and VCU and Utah State. Any of those 4 do you expect to make a big run in the tournament?
I think I like the way St. Mary's played last night. Jordan Ford, a guy I watched.
Did they beat Wisconsin?
They did OT. That was actually a pretty good game. It was 65-63 in overtime game. It was very low. Both those teams, great defense. Jordan Ford is pretty much the only scorer I saw from St. Mary's last night. They only played 7 guys, and the 2 bench guys only played 6 minutes or 6-7 minutes in an overtime game. So I worry about their depth for St. Mary's, especially when you get into March. I think they could definitely make a run. They're ranked 20th. This is going to be a good team. They did a pretty good job too with trying to schedule out of conference teams that we see the last couple of years. Committee doesn't give them respect. They got Wisconsin. They play Utah State. They have Dayton, Cal, Arizona State, Nevada. So they did a great job trying to schedule some big teams. And I think St. Mary's will be fine. I think this is a year where they could maybe knock off Gonzaga. Because I watched the game last night. Keelan Tilly, the only kid that came back from Gonzaga, and I don't know if you seen the roster. There's not one kid I remember from that Gonzaga team last year on this roster. Yeah. So I think this could definitely be a year. I know Mark Few reloads every single season. And I think this could be a year where maybe they have a little bit of a struggle. I still think they're going to blow everybody else away in the WAC or in the West Coast Conference. But I worry about Gonzaga a little bit. Maybe this is one of those years where they get knocked out early in the tournament. We're going to see them soon against Texas A&M, Washington, Arizona, and North Carolina. That's a tough test towards the end of December. So that'll be tough. A couple games for them to see how they do there. And then a couple other teams. Davidson. There's already comparisons to the Seth Joel Axel Gunderson, and this kid is a gunner, and this kid can shoot for Davidson. They're surprisingly not in the top 25. I thought they would be. They start out with Auburn on Friday night, and that could out in the Veterans Classic in Indianapolis, Maryland. That could be an absolute just 3-point contest fest. Both those teams love to shoot the threes. I think Davidson could really make a run this year. I think they have a really good team in the A10. I really like Davidson, and then the other team in the A10 I like is VCU. I don't remember if you remember him, Marcus Santos Silva from last year. I don't know. 21 points and 18 rebounds from last night. I think he averaged 13 rebounds a game last year. Loves dominating around on the glass. I really like this kid, all around great player. I think VCU, they got 4 guys coming back as well. So I think VCU is going to be really good this year. They're ranked 25th right now. I think they're going to be good. Of course, we'll see them play LSU at home. They'll go to Purdue. They play at Wichita as well. So tough double test as well. We'll see VCU play. And then the last team that he can make a run as a mid-major, Utah State, ranked 17. They had their hands full last night with Montana State. They only won by 8 points against not a very good Montana State team. But watch out for the name Sam Morrell. 28 points last night. Did not shoot very well, but he's a guy that can get to the three-throw line. He went to the line 18 times last night, hit 17 of them. I think he was a 91% free throw shooter a year ago. He draws contact, gets to the line, does a great job of that. Utah State, I think, is at Nevada this year. I think they could definitely be like a 6-7 seed. They got a couple decent pieces around Burrell. I like this team. I do like, and Justin Bean as well, average double last night as well for him. He's another guy to watch out for in the Mountain West, but the Mountain West is going to be good. The conference will be good this year. San Diego State, Nevada lost a tough one last night to decent Utah team out of the Pac-12. So I think, they'll be testing the Mountain West. And then one off the radar team is in the Ivy League in Harvard, the Crimson. Tommy Amaker's got a good team. I think this is like the third straight year he had a top 25 recruiting class. So this is a huge year. Bryce Atkins, preseason player of the year in the Ivy League, kid to watch out for, especially if they can get a chance in March. They're going to be good if they can stay healthy. Atkins has not been able to stay healthy. That's been Harvard's problem. But if they do, I think this is a team that could win a game or two, could surprise some folks. And then actually, I just thought of it, the last team as well in the Big South. I'm going not Big South, the ASUN. I'm going off the radar a little bit. I don't know if Liberty, you remember knocking off Mississippi State?
Oh, yeah.
4 guys back this year.
Oh, wow.
I saw, and including that kid put up 30 points on Mississippi State in the first round last year. I think Liberty could definitely be a team, if they do win their tournament in the ASUN, team to watch out for in your bracket. I think they'll probably be 11 or 12 seed again, but it's definitely a team that by 5-12 upset, Liberty definitely could be that team again, knock somebody off.
So it's going to wrap it up for our college basketball preview. I want to thank everybody who joined us on Facebook Live, and we'll be back at around 15 minutes to do our college football ranking reaction show. Me and Justin will be back doing that. So we want to thank you for listening, and hope you're back listening to us on Facebook Live in 15 minutes for our college football show. Thanks for listening, everyone.